My friends, there comes a moment when every woman, no matter her age, her story, or her scars, stands quietly with her own soul and asks a question the world rarely hears. What do I truly need to feel whole? And though many will answer with simple words, love, affection, partnership, the truth runs deeper than the surface people so easily cling to. A woman does not simply desire love. She wants to be understood. She wants the kind of presence that does not rush to fix her, silence her, judge her, or reduce her to a role she never asked to play. She wants to be seen in her fullness, the fierce and the soft, the storms and the sunshine, the grit and the grace. She wants someone to recognize her soul the way she has recognized everyone else's. She wants the freedom to express her truth without being told she is too much, too emotional, or too complicated. She wants the safety of knowing that her feelings are not an inconvenience but a part of the world she carries inside her. She wants to be understood, not halfway, not selectively, not only when it benefits someone else, but completely, honestly, and consistently. And when a woman is truly understood, she becomes unstoppable. Her tenderness becomes strength, her vulnerability becomes wisdom, and her silence becomes a choice rather than a prison. For understanding is not a gift wrapped in words. It is a home built with patience, maturity, and presence. Love may open the door, but understanding invites the soul to stay. There is a truth that echoes quietly in the hearts of women everywhere, a truth so constant and universal that it becomes the rhythm of their deepest desires. They want to be emotionally understood, not adored for their beauty, not admired for their strength, not praised for their resilience, though all of these hold meaning. What they want most, beyond titles like love, is the experience of someone who truly sees them. A woman wants a presence that listens without rushing, observes without assuming, and feels without fear. To be understood is to have her emotional language heard without translation, without correction, without minimizing. It is to be acknowledged in the moments when she doesn't know how to articulate the storms inside her. It is the comfort of knowing that someone has studied the way her heart speaks even when her mouth is silent. Love is often mistaken for understanding, but they are not the same. Love can be loud, showy, and full of beautiful promises. Understanding is quieter, more sacred. Understanding lives in the spaces between words, in the patience of soft questions, in the willingness to stay present when emotions become complicated or uncomfortable. A woman doesn't crave a perfect partner. She craves someone who notices the shift in her tone before she speaks, someone who recognizes the difference between her silence, that hides pain, and her silence, that simply seeks peace. She longs for someone who listens not to reply, but to connect. Someone who does not fear her intensity or her softness, her fire or her fragility, because they understand that these are not contradictions. They are the fullness of her being. When a woman feels emotionally understood, her entire world changes. Her body relaxes, her guard falls, her mind stops rehearsing explanations, her heart finally exhales. Understanding is the doorway to emotional safety, and emotional safety is the foundation upon which every healthy relationship is built. Without understanding, love becomes guesswork. Without understanding, affection becomes temporary. Without understanding, commitment becomes a cage instead of a choice. But when understanding is present, a woman feels free, not because someone gave her wings, but because they recognized the ones she already had. And in that recognition, she finds room to breathe, to speak, to feel, to grow. A woman wants someone who honors her emotions, not someone who tries to mute them. She wants the kind of understanding that doesn't categorize her feelings as too emotional, too sensitive, or too dramatic. She wants a partner who realizes that her emotions are not weaknesses. They are windows into her inner world. Every tear has a story. Every fear has a root. Every frustration has a reason. Understanding means pausing long enough to hear the meaning behind the emotion, not just the emotion itself. It means holding space for her to feel without being shamed for it, to cry without being judged for it, and to express without being punished for it. In a world that often tells women to shrink their emotions, being understood feels like being allowed to take up space. There is also a depth to understanding that goes beyond listening. It is the willingness to learn her emotional patterns, to study her inner landscape the way someone else might study a map or a poem. It is the kind of presence that recognizes when she is overwhelmed even before she says a word, the intuition that senses when something is off, the tenderness that knows when she needs closeness and when she needs quiet. Understanding is not mind-reading. It is care. It is attention. It is choosing to learn her the same way one learns a language, through patience, repetition, curiosity, and love. When a woman sees someone making that effort, even imperfectly, she softens. She opens, she trusts, because she feels valued not for what she provides, but for who she is. And perhaps the deepest truth of all is this: emotional understanding is the form of love that lasts. Roses fade, promises break, passion rises and falls. But understanding is constant. Understanding is the anchor that steadies two people through storms, conflicts, and seasons of change. It is the glue that holds two hearts together when life feels heavy. When a woman finds someone who truly understands her, she doesn't just feel loved. She feels safe, respected, and cherished. And that feeling is worth more than any romantic gesture, any sweet word, any temporary affection. Understanding is the one thing women want more than love, because understanding is the love that endures. Emotional safety is the quiet foundation upon which every meaningful relationship stands, yet it is the one thing many people forget to build. For a woman, emotional safety is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is the invisible shelter where her feelings can rest without fear of being dismissed, mocked, or misunderstood. Understanding is what forms this shelter. When someone truly understands her, not only what she says, but what she carries, she begins to feel protected in ways she rarely allows herself to feel. Emotional safety is the soft place where her heart lands after long days of being strong, after battles fought in silence, after storms weathered alone. And the moment she feels understood, she realizes she no longer has to fight with her words to be heard, nor shrink herself to be accepted. Many women move through life wearing emotional armor, strong, dependable, composed, because the world often teaches them that vulnerability is dangerous. They learn early that their feelings can be used against them, that their softness can be misinterpreted as weakness, and that the things that hurt them can be ignored by others without consequence. Understanding becomes the one thing that melts that armor. When someone listens empathetically, responds gently, and shows patience in moments when her emotions are tangled, the layers she built for survival begin to soften. She feels safe enough to show the parts of herself she usually keeps hidden. The fears, the uncertainties, the dreams she guards tightly. Emotional safety signals that she can unhide herself, piece by piece, without being punished for being real. Emotional safety is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of respect during conflict. Many people misunderstand this. They believe that emotional safety means a smooth relationship, a quiet home, a life free from disagreement. But real emotional safety means that even when voices rise or misunderstandings happen, her heart is not under attack. Understanding allows disagreement without disrespect, honesty without cruelty, and vulnerability without exploitation. A woman feels emotionally safe when she knows that her emotions will not be weaponized, her weaknesses will not be used as leverage, and her honesty will not be met with silence or withdrawal. She feels safe when she knows that someone can look at her anger and see the pain behind it, look at her tears and see the exhaustion beneath them. There is also a profound sense of freedom that comes with emotional safety. When a woman knows she is understood, she no longer feels the pressure to perform emotional strength or perfection. She does not have to rehearse her words before speaking, nor fear that she will be labeled dramatic for expressing what she truly feels. Emotional safety allows her to rest, not just physically, but emotionally. She can speak without walking on eggshells, cry without shame, laugh without restraint, dream without apology, and in that freedom she becomes more vibrant, more expressive, and more confident. Emotional safety doesn't make her smaller, it makes her bigger. It allows her to expand into the fullness of her personality, her creativity, her voice. Understanding is the bridge that connects two hearts with trust. A woman wants a partner who listens not to defend themselves, but to understand her world. Someone who doesn't dismiss her feelings with phrases like "you're overreacting," or "it's not a big deal." She needs someone who realizes that her emotions are not a nuisance. They are signals, reflections, truths. Genuine understanding turns emotional chaos into clarity. It turns her spiraling thoughts into calm. It turns her fears into conversations. When someone understands her emotional language, she no longer feels alone, even in her darkest moments. This is the essence of emotional safety, the feeling of having someone beside her who stands with her, not against her. And perhaps the deepest reason emotional safety matters is this: when a woman feels emotionally safe, she loves more openly, more deeply, and more fearlessly. Emotional safety unlocks her tenderness, her generosity, her passion. It makes her brave enough to invest her heart fully without holding back pieces for protection. When she feels understood, she does not love cautiously. She loves wholeheartedly. She becomes a partner who nurtures, supports, uplifts, and strengthens the bond with her presence. Understanding doesn't just create emotional safety, it creates emotional abundance, and a woman who feels emotionally safe becomes a woman who can love without fear, speak without hesitation, and stand in her truth without apology. So many people believe they must be flawless to love someone well. They think they must have all the answers, speak all the right words, move with perfect timing, and know exactly what to do in every emotional moment. But the truth is simpler and far more human. Understanding requires presence, not perfection. A woman does not expect someone to be flawless. She expects them to be here, to show up, to listen, to stay. Presence is the language of the heart, and it speaks louder than any beautifully crafted apology or perfectly rehearsed sentence. Presence is what tells her, "I'm with you," even when the moment is messy, confusing, or emotionally charged. And nothing builds understanding faster than consistency. Presence means being emotionally available, not just physically near. Many people can sit in the same room yet live miles apart in their hearts. A woman wants someone whose attention does not wander when she speaks, someone who is not distracted by their phone, their worries, or their own noise. She wants a partner who leans in, not just with their body, but with their soul. Someone who listens to understand, not to respond. Someone who does not simply hear her words, but notices the tremble behind them, the fatigue beneath them, the courage it took to speak them. Emotional presence is the kind of attention that makes her feel valued even without grand gestures, because it tells her she matters in the quiet, ordinary moments where connection is built. Presence also means staying steady when emotions become heavy. It is easy to be present when everything feels light and joyful. But understanding is tested in the moments when her emotions surge, when her tears come unexpectedly, when her voice cracks under the weight of something unspoken. Presence does not run away. It does not shut down. It does not accuse her of being too emotional. It stands still, listens, breathes, and stays. A woman wants someone who can sit with her through the storm without telling her to calm down, get over it, or stop making it a big deal. Presence says, "You are not too much. Your emotions are not a burden. I am here, and I am not leaving because the moment turned difficult." In that steadiness, understanding grows. There is a profound humility in presence. Perfection tries to control the moment, tries to fix, solve, analyze, or rush toward a solution. Presence does not fix. It witnesses. It allows. It supports. It learns. Understanding developed through presence is gentle, patient, and observant. It never assumes it already knows her. Instead, it discovers her a little more each day, like reading a book slowly enough to savor every line. Perfection is rigid. Presence is fluid. Perfection seeks approval. Presence seeks connection. And a woman feels seen in the places where presence lingers longer than comfort and listens deeper than ego. Presence is also the willingness to grow in real time. Nobody enters a relationship knowing everything about the other person's emotional world. Understanding is learned, not inherited. It requires courage to ask questions, maturity to hear the answers, and intention to apply what was learned. A woman does not expect immediate mastery. She expects effort. She wants someone who remembers the things she said in passing, someone who notices the patterns, someone who adjusts because they care. Presence means showing up again and again, even when mistakes have been made, even when misunderstandings have occurred. It means saying, "I'm learning you," and proving it through consistent actions. That effort, that growth, that commitment to understanding her inner world, that is what makes her feel respected. And perhaps the deepest truth is this: presence builds trust in ways perfection never can. Perfection is intimidating. It creates distance. Presence creates closeness. Perfection is fragile. It breaks the moment something goes wrong. Presence is resilient. It remains even when imperfections show. A woman does not fall in love with perfection. She falls in love with presence, the one who stays, the one who listens, the one who tries, the one who cares enough to be there even when the moment is uncomfortable or the emotions are complex. Presence is what allows her heart to open, her guard to lower, her dreams to be shared, and her truth to be spoken. Presence is the doorway through which real understanding enters, and it is the one thing she will always value far more than any attempt at perfection. A woman is not a single story. She is a universe, wide, shifting, layered, and rich with colors that change with the seasons of her life. To truly understand her is to recognize that she cannot be confined to one version of herself. She is the strength that holds everything together and the softness that allows everything to breathe. She is the storm that clears the path and the calm that follows afterward. True understanding sees her entirely, her contradictions, her complexities, her moods, her heart, her past, and the future she quietly hopes for. It does not try to simplify her or reduce her to a stereotype. Instead, it honors every facet of who she is, knowing she is meant to be multidimensional. There are sides of her the world applauds: her courage, her resilience, her ability to rise after falling. These are parts of her that shine brightly, parts she has learned to show because they make others comfortable. But true understanding sees the sides she hides too, the fears she battles alone, the doubts she whispers only to herself, the tears she wipes before anyone notices. A woman wants to be understood in the moments she is celebrated, yes, but more than that, she wants to be understood when she is vulnerable, uncertain, or hurting. Understanding sees the shadows as clearly as the light and does not turn away from either. It knows her dark days do not diminish her worth, they deepen it. A woman also holds pieces of her past that shaped her. Some are gentle memories, others are wounds still healing. True understanding does not judge her for what she has survived. It does not call her too guarded, too emotional, or too sensitive, without knowing the battles she had to fight just to trust again. Her reactions are not random, they are rooted. Her boundaries are not walls, they are lessons. Her silence is not indifference, it is protection. When someone truly understands her, they take the time to learn the story behind her behaviors, not just the behaviors themselves. They see that her heart carries history, and they walk with tenderness through the chapters that shaped her. But understanding all sides of her also means seeing her joy, not just her struggle. Many people love the idea of supporting a woman when she is fragile, but true understanding celebrates her when she is powerful too. It sees the fire in her ambition, the glitter in her laughter, the depth in her passions. It does not feel threatened by her success, her independence, or her voice. Instead, it admires her ability to shine and stands beside her without shrinking. True understanding appreciates the many ways she expresses herself. Sometimes loud, sometimes quiet, sometimes bold, sometimes reflective. It allows her to be everything she is without asking her to tone down her brilliance. True understanding also recognizes that she is constantly evolving. She is not the same woman she was last year, last month, or even yesterday. She is growing, shedding old habits, healing old hurts, and discovering new versions of herself. Understanding does not cling to old images of her, or hold her hostage to former mistakes. It grows with her, it adapts. It listens anew each time she speaks, because it knows she is learning who she is just as much as someone else is learning her. A woman wants to be understood not only for who she has been, but for who she is becoming. Understanding makes room for her transformation instead of fearing it, and perhaps the deepest truth of this key point is this. True understanding loves her in her wholeness, not in selective pieces. It does not label her as strong and ignore when she needs support. It does not call her independent and forget that she too wants comfort. It does not admire her softness and then reject her strength. True understanding sees all sides of her because all sides of her matter. And when a woman feels seen this completely, without conditions, without confusion, without fear, she does not just feel love. She feels known, she feels accepted, she feels at home, because being understood in all her dimensions is the closest thing to emotional freedom she will ever experience. Trust is not built in grand moments. It is not born from poetic words, beautiful promises, or even passionate expressions of affection. Trust is shaped in the quiet spaces, those tender, vulnerable, uncertain moments when a woman must decide whether to let someone into her inner world or protect herself from disappointment. Love can exist without trust, but trust cannot exist without understanding. This is why understanding becomes the foundation upon which real connection is built. When someone understands her, truly understands her, she feels safe enough to open up, reveal her fears, express her hopes, and share her unfiltered truth. Without understanding, love floats without direction. With understanding, it grows roots deep enough to weather any storm. A woman does not trust the person who loves her only in the easy moments. She trusts the one who remains when emotions become complicated. She trusts the one who listens instead of arguing, who seeks clarity instead of control, who shows patience instead of frustration. Understanding makes her feel that she is not alone in the conversation, not alone in the disagreement, not alone in the emotional unraveling she tries so hard to hide. When someone understands her emotional language, the pauses, the trembling tone, the subtle signs of hurt, she begins to trust that her heart is not too heavy for them to hold. She trusts that her soul is not too complex for them to explore. Trust also grows when she realizes that she doesn't have to justify her emotions. Many women have learned to explain themselves constantly, to defend their reactions, soften their tone, or shrink their needs so they won't be misunderstood. But when someone understands her, explanations become unnecessary. She no longer feels like she must rehearse her thoughts or apologize for wanting reassurance. Understanding tells her, you don't have to earn my patience. You don't have to earn my respect. This freedom to exist emotionally without fear of judgment is what builds trust. It makes her believe that her heart is safe in their presence, even when she feels fragile. Understanding also strengthens trust because it creates consistency. Love can be passionate one day and distant the next. It can be emotional one moment and cold the next. But understanding is steady. It listens the same on her good days and her difficult ones. It values her feelings just as much when she is joyful as when she is hurting. Understanding remains stable when emotions fluctuate, and this consistency is what tells her, you can rely on me. When she sees that someone responds to her emotions with the same care time after time, her guard lowers. Slowly, gently, but surely, she begins to trust not out of desperation, but out of experience. There is also a profound truth about trust. It deepens when a woman feels understood in her silence. There are moments when she cannot express what she feels, when words are too heavy, when her voice gets lost somewhere between her heart and her mind. In these moments, someone who truly understands her does not pressure her or withdraw. They simply stay close. They notice when she withdraws not because she is distant, but because she is overwhelmed. They sense when she needs space without taking it personally. They recognize when she needs reassurance without feeling weak for asking. This kind of intuitive understanding makes her trust that she does not have to speak perfectly to be heard, and she does not have to be emotionally coherent to be cared for. And the deepest truth is this: love can be given freely, but trust must be earned through understanding. A woman may love with her heart, but she trusts with her history. With every lesson she learned from the moments when she was misunderstood, rejected, misjudged, or silenced. To rebuild trust in someone new, she needs more than affection. She needs emotional understanding that is patient, consistent, and respectful. When she finds someone who offers this, who understands her enough to meet her where she is instead of where they think she should be, her heart softens. She allows herself to be seen fully. She becomes honest, open, expressive, and emotionally generous. Because trust built on understanding is not fragile, it is unbreakable. It is the kind of trust that holds two people together through change, through challenges, through time. There is a version of every woman that the world rarely sees. A version made of unfiltered dreams, unspoken wisdom, and courage so deep it could move mountains. But this version often stays hidden, wrapped in layers of caution, shaped by years of being misunderstood, underestimated, or told to quiet the parts of herself that shine too brightly. When a woman meets someone who truly understands her, something extraordinary happens. Her highest self begins to emerge. Understanding becomes the key that unlocks the parts of her she once kept protected. She begins to feel that she no longer needs to dim her light to make others comfortable, nor shrink her voice to avoid being dismissed. She steps forward not as the woman the world shaped her to be, but as the woman she was always meant to become. Understanding empowers her. It gives her the confidence to speak boldly, to dream freely, to move with a certainty she once lacked. When someone understands her, they don't just listen to who she is. They reflect back who she can be. They see potential in her pain, strength in her softness, and brilliance in the parts of her that others overlooked. Understanding becomes her mirror, reminding her of her worth on the days she doubts herself, and celebrating her victories on the days she claims them. It tells her she is capable, intelligent, deserving, and powerful, not because she earned it, but because it is the truth of who she is. When a woman feels truly understood, she no longer walks through life with emotional hesitation. The fear that once held her back begins to loosen. She becomes braver with her words, her choices, her boundaries, and her purpose. She begins to explore dreams she once abandoned. She starts creating goals she once thought were too ambitious. She steps into opportunities she once felt unworthy of. Understanding gives her emotional oxygen, the freedom to breathe, expand, grow, and evolve. It removes the weight of insecurity that others placed on her shoulders and replaces it with the strength of being seen. And in that clarity, she begins to rise in ways even she didn't expect. Understanding awakens her creativity. It ignites her passions. A woman who feels understood becomes expressive. She paints, writes, builds, loves, and imagines with confidence. Her ideas flow more freely because she no longer fears being judged. Her laughter becomes louder because she no longer feels she must hide her joy. Her emotions become richer because she no longer feels the need to suppress them. The environment created by understanding becomes fertile ground for her growth, her talents, and her inner brilliance. When someone understands her, they give her permission, unspoken but deeply felt, to be fully herself. Understanding also heals her. Many women carry wounds not from the absence of love, but from the absence of understanding. They were loved but not listened to, cherished but not known, appreciated but not truly seen. Their emotions were often minimized, their needs dismissed, their complexities simplified. Understanding becomes the balm that soothes these old hurts. It tells her she is not too much, too emotional, or too complicated. It tells her she is layered, deep, beautiful, and worthy of the space she takes up. When she experiences understanding, the walls she built for protection begin to transform, not into vulnerability without caution, but into openness without fear. In this transformation, healing takes root, and perhaps the deepest truth is this: when a woman is understood, she becomes unstoppable. She steps into her power without apology. She loves with authenticity. She speaks with clarity. She dreams with courage. She carries herself like a woman who knows that her emotions are valid, her voice is important, and her presence is meaningful. Understanding doesn't just awaken her highest self, it sustains it. It becomes the emotional foundation upon which she builds the next, more empowered chapter of her life. And once she has risen to that higher version of herself, there is no force capable of pulling her back down. Because she has tasted what it feels like to be seen, valued, and truly understood. And there is no greater freedom for a woman than that. In the end, my friends, there is one truth we cannot ignore. Women do not rise because someone loves them. They rise because someone understands them. Love may reach the heart, but understanding reaches the soul. It is the quiet force that steadies her, the unseen hand that lifts her, the gentle presence that reminds her she is worthy of every dream she carries. When a woman is understood, she breathes differently. She moves differently. She loves differently. Her steps grow more confident, her voice grows stronger, and her spirit grows braver. She no longer hides the parts of herself she once feared others would reject. She opens her heart not because she is unafraid, but because she finally feels safe enough to grow. So if you want to honor a woman, understand her. Honor her storms as much as her sunshine. Stand with her through her silence as much as her laughter. Listen when her voice shakes. Hold space when her emotions rise. See all the sides she carries, not just the ones that are easy to accept. Because when a woman feels truly understood, she does not become smaller. She becomes everything she was always meant to be. And that, more than love, is what she has been searching for all along.